Israel has struck the heart of Iran, attacking not only several nuclear facilities, but also key people in the Iranian military hierarchy were killed, sabotaging future operations. The use of drones launched from within enemy territory begs whether the so-called authoritarian axis of Russia, Iran, and China may also be capable of doing similar damage to the West. China has bought up a surprising lot of farmland in the USA and Australia, for example, in proximity to crucial US military installations, for example. One may argue that China doesn't have the requisite satellite network in orbit in order to remote control their drones. However, I suspect China has already secretly developed military-grade peer-to-peer mobile networks so that their drones can be directed without the need for satellites. Either way, the possibility of attacks on Western soil is not to be discounted. But why exactly are countries like India and several Arab states such as Saudi Arabia, Jordan, and Egypt now siding with Israel? One might argue that Indian Hindus have long been the victims of Iranian Muslim aggression, or that Iran's Shia brand of Islam sets it apart from the Sunni brand of Arab and Turkic Islam. Though these ethno-religious fault lines certainly mark the battlefield, the currency with which the West has bought the allegiance of India and the Arab states is, of course, immigration. Haven't we noticed the recent mass influx of Indians into Australia, Canada, France, and the USA, and many other places in the West? All of a sudden, Australia, a country the size of Europe but housing barely 27 million people, has close to 1 million foreign students. What for? Well, this type of migration for education scheme was used as a payment for India's allegiance to the West. And in the USA, it's the H-1B visa scam meant to undercut American citizens. Immigration, welfare, and housing are really the only things the West can offer third world immigrants for their loyalty. Haven't concerns over the British grooming gangs been heavily suppressed in order not to alienate Pakistan, an ally of China? By allowing cousin marriage and child brides, as recently debated in the British Parliament, perhaps South Asians will see the West more favorably. Indeed, we are throwing out our morals and our values, our whole culture, as pearls before swine to appease to sickness and savagery, in hopes of binding barbaric allies to our cause. Countries such as Egypt, Saudi Arabia, or Jordan obstinately refuse to accept any Palestinian refugees. Why? Why don't they want their own people? Because the people driven from their lands will arrive via Libya into the Netherlands and Great Britain. The equally obligatory supporters of Israel, Germany and Sweden, already absorbed millions of Syrians over a decade ago. Europeans are paying for the Arabs' loyalty to Israel and to the USA by absorbing their co-religionists, by making Paris, London, Brussels, and Amsterdam new Islamic capitals, and into destitute places. There's no doubt that Western leaders are twisted opportunists, willing to sell out, ready to expunge their native populations in hopes of retaining their precious corporate profits. Meanwhile, the share of white babies in many US states has dropped below 20% and below 40% nationally. Sending white sons to war amounts to genocide. I suggest, therefore, that white American soldiers defect during this Third World War and seek refuge in Europe, posing as Arabs, in order to collect their free housing and welfare checks. The USA, or rather the Anglo-American world, now awakens to a three-front war, namely a war simultaneously fought against Russia, China, and Iran. This is a war that cannot be won. But the twisted men of the West will at least try hard to make good profits. The gods have retreated from our world. Left behind are soulless drones, unthinking AI, and a dispirited people. There's no more honor to be found in battlefield death. It's a waste. Ordinary people must realize that salvation comes from neither profits nor progress, but from a conversion. Tired of the decline, we begin our ascent. We shall recreate our world by quelling the pains of war and stoking the fires of a new God, our Savior.